I think one of the biggest tragedies in the automotive world is the decline of the comically small car that seats too many people. Those family station wagons with a fold-away rear-facing seat are now eligible for classic insurance, and it's near impossible to seat 7 people in a modern car without buying a minivan or a full-size SUV. Something about trying to drive a long-wheelbase SUV around Shinjuku, or strapping 3 kids across a bench seat waiting for a fight to break out, must have really resonated in those pre-iPad days at Honda Japan, because our friends over there have been keeping this tradition alive. In addition to the 7-passenger Honda Stream I brought in a couple of years ago, there was an even smaller 4-wheel drive 7-passenger box you could buy from Honda. In the spirit of capsule hotels and fairly crowded public transit, Honda introduced a cross between a K-van and an 80s station wagon that would legally seat 7 people for buyers in the 2002 market. At 405 centimeters long and weighing in at 1,330 kilograms, it was small. Was it safe? Who cares? Advertising pointed out that families with kids should be okay with it.
I have a family! Honda Mobilio パワースライドドアつきました。
I of course bought one because I was curious, and wound up enjoying and driving it for an entire snowy winter. For the record, it was amazing in the snow, and a set of 4 14-inch snow tires cost the same as a single expensive AT tire for my Pajero or my Hilux. 2002 was the first year for the Mobilio. The engine is an L15A IDSI, which stands for Intelligent Dual Sequential Ignition, just like Alfa's old twin-spark engines. The idea being that 2 spark plugs per cylinder timed on a cylinder's up and down stroke means a cleaner, more complete combustion than a single spark. Red line is low at 6,000 RPM and peak torque and efficiency at lower RPM than a single spark. L15s are still used in 2018 Canadian Honda models, but the IDSI is most similar to an early Fit, spitting out just under 90 horsepower. The Mobilio's CVT transmission also aims to keep the engine within optimal RPM ranges for peak efficiency. The Mobilio is pretty economical for a 7-seater, and Honda claimed the best fuel economy in the 7-passenger category. While I was a little leery of an older CVT import at first, after a winter in this thing I decided CVTs with low horsepower, 14-inch narrow snow tires, and Honda's full-time 4-wheel drive made for a really good snow car. The Mobilio isn't quick. There's an S button on the shifter, which revs the engine up a bit and helps with the acceleration situation. But not by much. Cruising on the highway is comfortable, up to about 115 kilometers per hour, but it takes about 20 seconds to get there. The interior is fairly Spartan and basic. In the cluster you can keep track of trip and odometer, and approximate fuel economy in real time. The middle row easily lifts up on gas struts to make way for the third row, and throughout there are really tall windows for great visibility. The headroom is so pronounced in this car that when you have all 5 rear seats folded away, you have more cargo volume than a CR-V. The back of the bus does get a little questionable though. Recline the rear seat and your head is bouncing off the rear glass. Open the rear hatch and you can recline the seat beyond the rear bumper. Sitting with the seat back straight up, your head is only inches from the rear glass. If this car looks cheap, that's because it is. A base model Mobilio cost just 1.2 million yen in 2002. Adding 4-wheel drive to a base model brought that total up to about 1.4 million yen, which was 17,000 Canadian dollars in 2002. But Honda wasn't content to just offer the car. You could buy Modulo Aero, Mugen Aero, or dress it up with Autoback specials to impress at local car meets. So are Mobilios cool? Does the factory option power parking pole answer that question? I'd love to ask that family from the commercial their opinion on ownership, but I suspect they were just there for the catering. With the seats folded flat, interior crammed full of cargo, making first tracks after a snowstorm, it is awesome. Would I road trip my family to Cape Breton and around the Cabot Trail in it? Probably not. But it's all relative, and I would buy another if a deal came along. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time in something else.